December 9th, 1941. Tenlem, Imperial General Headquarters, Tokyo. The air in the briefing room is electric, sharp with the smell of ink and green tea. 2 days after Pearl Harbor, the victory disease is taking hold. Red arrows slash across maps of the Pacific, through British Malaya, the Philippines, and Wake Island. Commander Junichi Takei of Naval Intelligence allows himself a moment of grim satisfaction. The Kessen, the decisive battle, has been won. A junior aide, bowing, places a thin file on his desk. It is a summary from their military attaché in Berlin, sourced from observers in neutral Spain. The subject, Canada. Takei scoffs. He scans the file. It speaks of a Kokukichi, an air training plan. It lists impossible numbers: 107 new flying schools, 184 ancillary units, 10,000 training aircraft, a plan to graduate. 50,000 aircrew per year. He laughs. A shorty sharp bark that cuts through the reverent hush of the room. 50,000, he says to his aide, tapping the file. A nation of farmers and lumberjacks. They are building an aerodrome of democracy in a land of ice. To Takei, and to the Axis planners in Berlin, war is about will, spirit, and decisive, shattering blows. It is the Zero Sen, the Messerschmitt, the veteran Stuka pilot. This is a bureaucratic dream, a logistics plan. It is slow, abstract, and impossibly far away. The war, he is certain, will be won by Christmas 1942, long before these farmers ever learn to fly. He stamps the file, low priority. He turns back to the map. The real war, the conquest of Singapore, the same day, 07:15 a.m. No. 12 Service Flying Training School, Brandon, Manitoba. The local time zone is 14 hours behind Tokyo. The temperature is 31 degrees below 0 Celsius. The wind, howling across 1,000 miles of flat, frozen prairie, is not a sound. It is a physical white-knuckled fist. It is a whiteout. Leading aircraftman David "Red" McGregor, 19 years old, from a quiet street in Guelph, Ontario, feels the cold through 4 layers of wool and sheepskin. It is a pain so sharp it feels like breathing in needles. He is not fighting a Zero. He is fighting Canada, his aircraft. A bright yellow North American Harvard trainer is caked in rime ice. The ground crew, their own faces masked in ice, have been preheating its engine for an hour. Right, McGregor. The voice belongs to Flight Lieutenant Graves, an RAF veteran, his neck scarred by glycol burns from the Battle of Britain. He does not shout. The wind rips the words from his mouth. The Japs are in the Pacific, but this sky will kill you just as fast. You trust your instruments today, or you will fly us straight into that grain elevator. Get in! This is the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan, the BCATP. It is not a plan, it is a factory. It is the largest aviation training program in history, a continental assembly line for combat airmen, disguised as a snow-covered wasteland. From coast to coast, 107 schools just like this one are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. McGregor scrambles into the cockpit. The canopy is a sheet of opaque frost. He wipes it with his glove, smearing the ice. His breath freezes on the inside of the glass. This is his final navigation test. If he passes, he gets his wings. If he fails, he washes out, or worse, joins the dozens of trainees who have already been killed, their yellow trainers vanishing into the endless white horizon. In his warm Tokyo office, Commander Takei has dismissed this. He cannot comprehend this. He cannot comprehend a nation so vast, so rich, and so completely safe from bombs that it can turn its entire geography into a single, massive school for war. He is laughing at an idea. He has no concept of the reality. McGregor's engine sputters, catches, and roars to life, a cloud of black smoke vanishing instantly in the blizzard. The farmers are learning to fly. December 9th, 1941. 7:45 m, 3,000 feet above Brandon, Manitoba. There is no sky. There is no ground. There is only the milk, a swirling, featureless, terrifying void of white. Leading aircraft man McGregor is flying entirely on his instruments. His knuckles are white on the control stick. His eyes scan the panel in a frantic rehearsed triangle, artificial horizon, directional gyro, altimeter, the Harvard trainer, a machine built for instruction, feels like a toy in a hurricane. It shudders, drops 50 feet and is slammed by a crosswind. His inner ear is screaming at him. It tells him he is in a steep bank, turning upside down, plunging toward the invisible earth. Trust the instruments, not your arse. Flight Lieutenant Graves' voice, a gravelly echo in his helmet. Your arse will lie to you. The gauges will not. McGregor forces his feet onto the rudder pedals, fighting the non-existent spin his body is screaming he's in. He centers the needle. He trusts the gyro. And then, just as suddenly as he entered it, he bursts through the top of the cloud layer. He is blinded by a sun so brilliant, so cold, it feels like a physical blow. He is in a sea of pure, sharp blue. Below him, the clouds are a solid, rumpled white blanket, stretching from horizon to horizon. But he is not alone. To his port, a perfect Vic formation of 3 other yellow Harvards, their canopies glittering. To his starboard, another 4. In the distance, high above, he sees the silver glint of Avro Ansons, the faithful Annies, teaching navigators their celestial plots. The radio, which in the storm was a crackle of static, now bursts into a cacophony of voices. Brandon Tower, this is Aussie 39er, requesting Vector to... Dulbst. Watch your spacing, number 4, you're crowding him. Due to mluv. Repeat. Check trainee requests. Bzzt. Clear to land. Kiwi. Bzzt. Look for the flare. This is the BCATP. It is not one school. It is a skyborne continent. The entire prairie, from Manitoba to Alberta, has been gridded out. The endless, flat expanse that was a liability for farmers has become the world's greatest asset. It is a training ground so vast, so safe from enemy attack, that the sky itself has been turned into a factory floor. In Tokyo, Commander Take was looking at a file. He could not see this. He could not see the 130,000 men, Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders, Poles, Czechs, French, Belgians, all cycling through this machine. They are not just pilots. In the bellies of the Avro Ansons, young men from Saskatchewan are learning to be bomb aimers, staring through their drift sights at a grid-marked prairie crossroads that, in their minds, must become the rail yards at Ham. In cramped classrooms in Winnipeg, men are tapping out Morse code, learning to be the vital wireless operators. In ferry battle trainers, their gun turrets exposed to the 30-degree slipstream, they are learning to be air gunners, their fingers freezing to the grips of their .303 Brownings. This is not a plan. It is an assembly line of crews, and it needs machines. Thousands of miles east, Fort William, Ontario, the Canadian Car and Foundry, CanCar plant. The noise is a physical assault, a deafening, continuous roar of 10,000 pneumatic riveters, the scream of metal presses, and the hiss of arc welders. Elspeth MacDonald, her hair tied in a kerchief, her hands raw and stained with cutting oil, does not look up. Her riveting gun is her entire world. She's not fighting a war. She's building a wing spar. But the wing spar she is building belongs to a Hawker Hurricane. In 1939, this plant built railroad cars. In 1941, it is building one of the deadliest fighters in the world. In his Tokyo office, Take had dismissed Canada as a training ground. He and his counterparts in Berlin had completely overlooked it as an arsenal. They saw Canada as a source of wheat, of wood. They did not see it as a source of steel, of engines, of fighters. The line of Hurricanes, painted in the green and grey camouflage of the RAF, stretches back through the massive building until it is lost in the steam and smoke. This plant alone will build 1,451 of them. They roll off the line, are test flown over the icy expanse of Lake Superior, and are then crated. They are loaded onto merchant ships in the black, frozen waters of Halifax Harbour. Their destination, Liverpool. Their destination, Murmansk, for the desperate Soviet allies back in Manitoba. Red. McGregor brings his Harvard in for a landing. He greases it. A perfect three-pointer. The skis on his landing gear kicking up a spray of soft snow. He taxis to the line, his hands shaking, his body drenched in sweat despite the killing cold. Flight Lieutenant Graves is waiting, leaning against a snowdrift, a clipboard in his hand. He doesn't smile. You're alive, McGregor, and you're on course. He pulls a pen from his greatcoat. That makes you a navigator. He signs the logbook. You graduate free day, pilot officer, you and the rest of this class, 150 of you. McGregor is too exhausted to feel triumphant. Where to, sir? Graves looks up at the sky, now filling with the next wave of trainees. Out of the frying pan, son, you're shipping to England. No, one squadron, ARCAF. They're re-equipping. He claps a heavy glove on McGregor's shoulder. They've got a brand new Hurricane waiting for you. August 19th, 1942, 10:30 a.m. Above the English Channel off Dieppe. The air is a churning vertical nightmare. It is a chaos of black flak puffs, white-hot tracers, and the grey silhouettes of Focke-Wulf 190s flashing past at 400 miles per hour. Pilot Officer Red McGregor, now with no 401 Squadron ARCAF, is fighting for his life. He is no longer a trainee. He is a combat pilot. The ice of Manitoba has been replaced by the fire of the Channel front. His aircraft, a Hawker Hurricane MiG-22B, is the one from the Fort William plant. He can feel the solid, steady power of its Merlin engine, an engine built by Packard in the USA, in a plane built by railway workers in Canada, flown by a banker's son from Ontario. Bandits, 6 of them, 5 o'clock high. His squadron leader, a wavy Navy veteran from Vancouver, snaps over the RT. McGregor brakes hard, his body slammed by G-forces. A Luftwaffe Oberleutnant, a veteran of Russia with 40 kills, drops in behind a fellow Canadian, the FW-190's quad cannon Spark. Brake, Jimmy, brake left. McGregor screams. He rolls his Hurricane, pulling the nose through the sky. His gun sight, a simple illuminated ring he had practiced with for 100 hours over the flat prairie, drifts onto the German fighter. He does not think, he acts. His training from the milk of Manitoba, the blind flying and the whiteout, has made him an instinctive, methodical pilot. He is not a romantic ace. He is a factory-made killer. His thumb presses the firing button. 8, 303 machine guns erupt. The sound is not a rat-tat-tat. It is a terrifying like canvas being torn. The stream of bullets cuts across the Focke-Wulf's wing route. The German ace, stunned by the ferocity and accuracy of the attack, pulls up, his engine smoking. McGregor has just proven the theory. The BCATP works. The farmers can fight. The Luftwaffe over Dieppe is staggered. They came expecting the RAF. Instead, the sky is full of RCAF, RAF, and Oranzaf squadrons. The graduates of the aerodrome of democracy are no longer a plan. They are a flood. The laughter from Berlin has stopped. But the war is global, and the laughter from Tokyo, it continues. January 14th, 1944, 14:20 p.m. The Arakan Valley, Burma. The air is thick, wet, and shimmering with a heat that feels like a physical weight. Tai, Captain Kenji Tanaka, of the 64th Sentai, Imperial Japanese Army Air Force, banks his Nakajima Ki-43 Hayabusa, the Oscar. He is an ace, a samurai of the sky. He has flown since China. He has killed Russians, Chinese, and the clumsy British in their slow Brewster buffaloes. His Oscar is a swallow. It weighs nothing. It can turn on itself, a leaf in the wind. Below him, he spots his prey, 6 RAF Hurricane Mech-6X. He laughs. Look, he says over his radio to his wingman. The flying bricks. They send us the Kurogane, pig iron, that failed in Europe. To the Japanese pilots, the Hurricane is a joke. It is heavy, slow, and cannot turn. It is a European fighter, unsuited for the jungle. Tanaka picks his target, the last man in the formation. I will take him. Watch. He drops his nose, the Oscar accelerating in a silent dive. He closes. 500 meters. 300 meters. He's preparing his opening burst. Suddenly, the Hurricane snaps into a violent half-roll and dives for the jungle canopy. Tanaka is stunned. The British, they don't do that. They try to turn, and he kills them in the turn. This pilot, he is diving. He is using the Hurricane's weight and speed to escape. He is running, Tanaka scoffs, pushing his own throttle forward to pursue. The Hurricane levels off, treetops flashing by just 50 feet below. The pilot in that Hurricane is Flight Sergeant Jock Hamilton, RCAF. He is 20 years old. He is from Lethbridge, Alberta. He did not train in the jungles of Malaya. He trained at No. 14 Service Flying Training School in Aylmer, Ontario. He learned high-speed or low-level navigation over the flat, grid-like roads of the farmland. He learned to trust his engine, not his agility. He's not going to dogfight a Zero. "He's on me, us up boys," Hamilton says over his radio, his voice flat, Canadian. "Suck him in." Tanaka, his blood up, follows the Hurricane into a shallow climbing turn. He is lining up his shot. "Tally-ho, 3 o'clock." Tanaka's head snaps to the right. 2 more Hurricanes, their 20mm cannons sparkling, are diving on him. This is not a duel. It is an ambush, a team tactic. Tanaka brakes hard, his Oscar groaning, but the Hurricanes are coordinated. They are a pack. One of them is piloted by an Australian, the other a New Zealander. All of them. All of them have the same flat, professional radio chatter. All of them are graduates of the BCATP. They are fighting with tactics learned 10,000 miles away in a land of ice. Tanaka dives. His wingman shot down and burning, a plume of black smoke against the green jungle. He is no longer laughing. He is running. The pilots from the frozen aerodrome have come to the jungle, and they have brought a new kind of war with them. March 24th, 1944, Manfred 21,000 feet above Berlin. The world is a single, vibrating, aluminum tube. It is a small, dark, freezing space, filled with the constant, deafening roar of 4 massive Rolls-Royce Merlin engines. This is Lancaster Alpha leader of 428 Ghost Squadron, RCAF, and it is swimming in a sea of focused violence. Outside the canopy, the sky is not dark. It is a man-made hell. It is a latticework of white, probing searchlight beams. It is a sky pockmarked by thousands of black-grey flak bursts, each one a puff of steel shrapnel expanding at supersonic speed. The pilot, Flying Officer Mousse Larocque, a former logger from Quebec, holds the yoke steady. His knuckles are white. He is not just flying, he is conducting, navigator to pilot. A calm voice crackles in his ear. 10 minutes to target. Next course. 090. Hold this altitude. The voice belongs to Flying Officer Stan Maps Karski from Winnipeg. Stan Karski has not seen the sky, the flak, or the ground in 3 hours. He is in a blacked-out curtain, his small table illuminated by a single low-power bulb. His world is a chart, a set of dividers, and the glowing green eye of the H2S radar screen. Karski is the real product of the BCATP. The Axis planners, like Commander Takei in Tokyo, had laughed at the idea of training pilots. They never even considered the logistics of training a navigator. A pilot can be taught on guts. A navigator must be made by math. In one SS Panzerkorps, a Panzer commander was an aristocrat. In the Kriegsmarine, a U-boat Kapitän was a legend. In the Luftwaffe, a fighter pilot was an Übermensch. The Allies? They were training accountants, and the accountants were now tearing the heart out of the Third Reich. The BKTP was not just a pilot factory, it was an assembly line for crews. For every pilot like Red McGregor, the plan produced a navigator, a bomb aimer, a wireless operator, and 2 air gunners. It was a machine for creating teams. Karski's final exam in Manitoba had been a 500-mile dead-reckoning flight over a featureless Ntistikiyelta snow-covered prairie in an Avroansen with the windows blacked out. Tonight, his final exam is Berlin. The principle is the same, bomb aimer to pilot, a new voice. From the nose, I have the target indicators, on the run, Moose, on the run. This is Sergeant Shorty Miles, a former bank teller from Toronto. For 2 years, he dropped dummy bombs from a fairy battle onto a painted white circle on a field in Alberta. Now, he's staring into a Mach 14 bomb site. His target the Almansey rail yards. Steady, steady, Miles murmurs, his hands twisting the knobs. Left, left, steady, steady. The entire 7-man crew, 6 of them Canadian, 1 of them a British flight engineer, all of them are graduates of the Aerodrome of Democracy. They are the bureaucratic dream that Takei mocked, and they are a logistical nightmare for Germany. Whump, whump, whump! A flak battery finds their altitude. The Lancaster is tossed like a toy. Fighter! The voice is a high-pitched scream from the rear turret. Tail end Charlie, a 19-year-old from Newfoundland, has seen it. Ju-88, starboard quarter, low, corkscrew, Moose, go! Moose Larocque does not hesitate. He shoves the yoke forward, plunging the 30-ton bomber into a violent dive, rolling hard to starboard. The men inside are weightless, then crushed by G-forces. It is a maneuver practiced 100 times in the safe. Clear skies over Saskatchewan. Blue tracer fire zips through the air where the Lancaster was seconds before. The German night fighter pilot, his Schreger music cannons angled upwards, is stunned by the perfectly executed defensive maneuver. "Hold the corkscrew!" the gunner yells. "He's overshot!" "Back on the level. Moose!" Karski shouts from his curtain. "We're drifting. Get back on heading." "Aye." "Bomb sight is on him. Shorty," Moose grunts, fighting the controls. "On him! On him! Steady! Steady! Bomb's gone!" Sergeant Miles presses the red button. The Lancaster leaps upwards, 12,000 pounds of high explosive and incendiaries detaching from its belly. "Bomb's gone. Skipper." Roger Skja. "Get us home. Maps." Stan Karski, his hands steady, his dividers already walking across the chart, gives the new course. Steer 275. Pilot. Let's go home. Nod. They have been over the target for less than 90 seconds. The raid on Berlin that night involves 801 heavy bombers. The vast majority of those crews, the pilots, the navigators, the aimers, the gunners, are graduates of the British Commonwealth Air Training Plan. The Aerodrome of Ice has delivered a force of 6,000 highly trained specialists into the heart of the enemy's capital in a single night. The Axis planners laughed at a plan. They never understood that the plan was the weapon, a weapon of overwhelming, relentless, industrial-scale competence, a weapon they had absolutely no way to counter. June 6, 1944, for 5 Jessen, 12,000 feet above the English Channel. Flight Lieutenant Red McGregor, his flight suit smelling of stale sweat and high-octane fuel, grips the spade grip of his Spitfire McNoim. His squadron, 401 RCF, is flying top cover. He looks down, and his breath catches in his throat. The sea is gone. It has been replaced by a solid, grey-black bridge of steel. 5,000 ships, battleships, destroyers, transports, and landing craft are ploughing through the dawn swell, their wake stretching back to England. He looks up. The sky's also gone. Above him, a river of aluminum flows east. Halifaxes, Lancasters, and Stirlings, their Bombays full, drone towards the coast. Below him, swarms of Typhoon fighter bombers, their rocket rails full, are diving toward the beach. This is D-Day. And the air belongs to them. Ramrod control to Blue Leader. The radio crackles. Vector 090. Sweep the beach. Luftwaffe reported. Nil. McGregor scans the horizon. Nothing. Just more Allied planes. Where are the aces? The yellow-nosed Focke-Wulfs? The veterans of Dieppe? They are dead. They are grounded. They are out of fuel, out of planes, and out of pilots. The German war machine had produced some of the greatest aces in history, but it could not replace them. When an ace with 100 kills was shot down, 10,000 hours of combat experience died with him. When Red McGregor's friend Jimmy was shot down over Dieppe, a new graduate from Brandeis, Manitoba, was on a transport ship a week later to take his place. The BKTP was not a plan to create aces. It was a plan to create an unending supply of competent airmen. The Luftwaffe was a finely crafted sword. The Picati P was an industrial stamping press, and the press had just crushed the sword. On the beach below, a young rifleman from the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada leaps from the landing craft into the chest-high, bloody surf. He's 19. He's terrified. Machine gun fire from a bunker is ripping his company apart. He falls behind a steel hedgehog. He is certain he is going to die. Then he hears a sound he prayed for, a high-pitched, tearing shriek. He looks up. 4 RCAF Typhoons, their black and white invasion stripes stark, are coming in at the bunker, just 50 feet off the sand. The lead pilot, a former insurance salesman from Calgary who trained at RCAF Station Dauphin, fires his rockets. The concrete bunker vaporizes. The rifleman gets to his feet. He runs. The Aerodrome of Democracy was not just a plan, it was air cover. It was salvation. August 15th, 1945. Imperial General Headquarters, Tokyo. The city is a wasteland of charcoal, ash, and bone. The air is thick with the smell of defeat. Commander Junichi Takei, his uniform hanging loosely on his gaunt frame, sits in a damp bunker. The victory disease of 1941 is a distant, feverish memory. On his desk is a final ENT scorched intelligence report. It details the B-29 raids. It details the swarms of carrier planes. It details the P-51 escorts that no Hayabusa or Zero can touch. And it details the replacement rate of the Allied pilots. He pulls an old, water-stained file from a cabinet. Canada, 1941. Low priority. He looks at the numbers he had laughed at. 50,000 aircrew. He picks up a red pen. He crosses out the estimate. He writes the final, incomprehensible number, 131,553, from 107 schools. In a land of ice, 10,000 miles from any front. He and his German allies had believed war was a matter of will, of Kessen, of the decisive, spiritual blow. They never understood. The Second World War was a war of logistics, of factories, of training. The laughter of 1941 had been the hollow laugh of men who had fundamentally misunderstood the century they were living in. They had mocked a nation of farmers. They never realized those farmers, in their yellow trainers, were the very engine of their destruction. The aerodrome of ice, the quiet, bureaucratic plan, had proven to be the single most decisive weapon of the entire war.